that would say make us stronger or better than any other group of people, but that we are here, that we were sent here to perform one of the most sacred jobs in the history of humanity. Pat Robertson doesn't want to hear that, but I think a lot of people do. So my message to you all is to embrace your original pristine divinity to its fullest and see where you can become a sacred activist yourself. I'll stop there for now.
Before we shift, does anyone have any questions or comments on what Nick was sharing there? Or
how do I get, do you have a business card or something that I can get in touch?
You'll get in touch with me. I already need that when you walk in the door. Yeah. Yes.
No, it's just very interesting. I just want to mention the reason is because I'm actually contemplating, I went to Oral Roberts University. I don't know if you all know what that is. So I went through hell graduating, after I graduated. To make a long story short, I'm actually contemplating going to seminary to become a Christian minister, but to bring in this, what you're talking about, into the church. Yeah. Because there are seminaries out there who have in their clause, there's no discrimination against sexual orientation. They're accepting gays and lesbians into their seminaries. So that's kind of what's running through me right now. So it's very interesting.
And that's why you're here tonight. So yes.
But there's a lot of angst around it.
Oh, of course. And remember, have you read Eckhart Tolle?
No.
We would all invite you to do that as a starting point, and to see that you now embrace, in what you just said, a rising new consciousness that Eckhart speaks of beautifully, that is happening all over the world, as insane as the world looks, and as it is. I mean, the natural state of humanity, as Eckhart says, is one of insanity, of collective mental illness. All right. You are representing the contrary to that. You're representing, I could see it in your face, the rising new consciousness that is blossoming in the world today in unprecedented numbers. Along with that, I say this, that going into that line of work that you're going into is very, very dangerous work. It's very dangerous, but much, much needed. Much, much needed. And yes, it can be done in the Christian world, it can be done in the Jewish world, whatever. I love them all. I can tell you my escaping from fundamentalism, leaving it all behind, stop calling myself a Christian, has brought about a greater love, understanding, admiration of Jesus than I ever had as a fundamentalist Christian.
I felt the same way.
Yes. So I admire you. One other point I want to make is that as you become witness to and part of this arising new consciousness on the planet, it is being met with the rising level of unconsciousness. You're seeing that in this country now more than probably anywhere else in the world. So prepare yourself. Always know you need to be protected in front of you, behind you, to the left of you, to the right of you, above you, below you. And go for it. Change the world and save those teenage lives.
I almost killed myself as a teenager.
I tried 3 times.
It just occurred to me that something you just said seems really important, and it's something that I've noticed too, that this very dramatic backlash that we're seeing on the surface best not to minimize its severity, because it is severe and it's frightening. But I think it seems to me that it's a backlash against something really important that's happening at a much deeper level. And that's where I'm trying to keep my focus.
Yes.
Because I think all the other stuff is going to blow away if we can focus on the positive development that's happening beneath the surface.
Right. And my response to that is the term sacred activism. And what you're talking about is that underlying. It's what Greg talked about in meditation. So yes, staying focused on that. I refer to it as the violet flame. It's like your skirt. So that's the violet flame that burns. Where other people may be called to a more active social activism, where there is a place for it. Personally, it's not for me. I don't want it. I don't want to be part of that. I don't need a piece of paper that says that I grew up in a partner. I don't need that. So I'm not going to be, do I think what went on here with Prop 8 is crazy? Of course I do. But I don't need a piece of man-made dogma to allow me to put my arm around my partner at night and to love him. So staying focused on that, on what you're saying there, brings great attention to that. And one of my favorite speakers is, if you're familiar with the Abraham Hicks tradition, Esther Hicks speaks. Esther Hicks speaks.
She channels
Abraham. She's a brilliant speaker. And she sees gay people as having come into the world and now experiencing tremendous grief because we forgot what we volunteered to come here for. And she says, so when you heal yourself, when you remember who you were, who you volunteered, who you are, what you came here to do, she said, you will stun the world. You will stun the world. So stay with what you're doing. Stay with that. And that other stuff, that fear stuff, protect yourself from it.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm curious, can you talk a little bit more, because one of the things that's bothered me, and I think one of the things that brought me here tonight, even though I think I've obviously come for other reasons, but is I've always had a problem with the gay community as a whole, and I've always struggled because I never felt I can't go to gay pride. I just am there's something about it that drives me crazy, and I feel guilty about that. And so, I'm frustrated with the whole emphasis on body image. I'm frustrated with this whole emphasis on sex. I'm interested, there's so much.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah.
I would encourage you to go, because it's what I work with people on oftentimes, and how I identify the pain body, how it's shown in my life and in others, is pain body exists in your opinions. It exists in your judgments. When you release your opinions about yourself, when you release your judgments about yourself and others, when you let go of, I don't know if this is your situation, but from my life experience and in my practice, when people have a deep resistance to something, there's a fear. There's generally a fear of judgment. There's generally a fear of being judged. And what they're doing is judging the beautiful bodies, judging how we perceive those people to be.
Well,
and when you can release that judgment and come from a place of just allowing, then you might just have fun.
I think